Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome to Babble with Bronies. Glad you're here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Everlasting Joy, along with my good friends and coworkers, Twilight is Magic and Mr. Ben. We want to thank you for stopping on by. I'm not going to waste much time here, folks. This week, it was pretty much just like this when it came to content. Whoosh. Everywhere. Everything. Lots of it. So, starting off with the news. Let's go with this one. I kind of want to get this one. I'll go with this one anyway. Good friend Mike Nanotube. You remember the 3D printer I interviewed a long time ago, just shortly before we left Brony State? He's running a contest on his DeviantArt page, or his DeviantArt group, I should say. He's running a contest. There isn't much. He didn't give me a lot, but for all of you 3D printers out there, which I know there are a few in our audience, feel free to look into it. Private message him, see what he has to say. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. I'm watching the stream here with all your guys' reactions. All right, speaking of 3D prints, the biggest, perhaps one of the biggest pieces of news that hit us this week, and certainly one of the most blindsiding ones, which in this case it's good though. The 3D printing company Shapeways is teaming up with Hasbro to sell fan-made figurines. Let me see, where is it? Quote, "We have been investigating 3D printing for quite a while, as have many people," said Josh Frescolti, Chief Marketing Officer at Hasbro. "What 3D printing truly empowers is the creation of artwork that maybe won't make sense for mass production, but it makes sense for a unique item." End quote. Long story short, if you're a 3D printer, you can, well, now they're trying to get it to allow you to sell your stuff to others. You know, make money off of it. So that's a pretty good thing. What was it I was going to say? I know a few of them are here, and I'm sure many people have heard of them. So bear this one in mind, and there you go. All right, this next one. I'll give you guys, actually, I take that back. I'll give you guys a second if you wanted to discuss that. It sounds, the strangest thing about this, or perhaps not the strangest, but the second most interesting thing about this is the fact that if I heard right, this is one of the first times anyone's ever done something like this, where they've done a, like this 3D printing thing here. So it's basically Hasbro taking a stab in the dark on this to see just how it'll pay off to them. I'm all for it. Like I said, I'm all for interesting things like this. We'll see where this goes. I'm going to contact a couple of my 3D printing brony buddies and see if they don't see what they have to say about this later. Whether I report it, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. The unreleased tapes of that Brony documentary, since we covered it a while ago, they're being released. Quote, "Was that old Brony doc not enough for you? Good news then. They've started releasing the unreleased tapes from the Kickstarter from a while back. Expect weekly releases until the full thing is ready to ship." End quote. Something we will be doing, I'll be keeping tabs on these, and we can, I'll be keeping tabs on this and releasing them. Anyway, this one is on John Jaseko. So, if you want to check this out, you can check it out. Okay, now, and last in the news, Danos. Friends Forever number 7, the comic. Howdy Citra. Long time no see. Anyway, Friends Forever number 7 is out. I haven't even bought it yet, but that's just because I've been busy this week. But Luna and Pinkie Pie. How can you lose with that? That's what I want to know is how can you lose with that? Pick it up, folks. Thank me later. Obviously, read it after this podcast is done. Anyway, okay. I hope he shows up as well. Well, suddenly, people. Question for everyone, of course, the big one. That concludes our that concludes all news and announcements and all that jazz. Art or videos first? One, two, three. Oh, thank you, J.E. Smith. I almost forgot about that one because it was purpled out. I double checked it. So I'll get to that just right after this. We've got about 6 to 4, and I'm going to call it, folks. 7. Um, 7 video, 4 art. And that's fine by me because let me tell you the kind of kind of week I had content wise. I have 4 videos this week. All of them are at least 3 minutes long. So it is a big one. Anyway, yes, as J.E. Smith pointed out, this one I have to be a little bit more cautious with because there are spoilers involved. So I'm not going to display it on screen. But for those of you who are planning on seeing Rainbow Rocks, the Equestria Girls movie, there are theater listings on this nifty little website, screenvision.com. J.E. Smith pointed this out to me earlier in the week. On the page, right at the top, you'll see the synopsis. That's where the spoilers come in. But it also lists for where it's all going to be shown, and it's only in America. So for all of you people who are outside of America, I'm sorry, but a release date for when the movie is being shown in theaters. It's just written synopsis, and it lists where it's all going to be shown. So anyway, there it is. Big letters of spoiler. So if you click on it, that's your choice, folks. Anyway, as we said, we're going to video first. And already we're getting dropped frames. That's fantastic. Anyway, I think... Oh, why don't we go with this one first? This one I showed on CQ once, but that's because I figured that the person didn't want me to show it. So this one was a bit of a late comer. This one is titled Do You Want to See the Moon Rise by Skyrina. Hope I pronounced that right.
Celestia? Dost thou want to see the moon rise? Watch the ending of the day. I have been working oh so very hard to move the stars into a beautiful ray. It's just been kinda lonely, all these things I do, and no pony seems to care. But does I wanna see the moon rise? Oh, we can hang out till the sunrise.
Not tonight, Luna.
Okay, fine. Why does everyone sleep through my gorgeous night?
Celestia, dost thou want to see the moon rise? I want to show you, come with me. Orion stars are out and shining bright. It's such a gorgeous night, I want you come and see. It's just that no one seems to notice all the things I do. I feel like I'm going mad. Don't feel it. Don't fight it anymore. There can only be one princess in Equestria. And that princess shall be me! I'm sorry, sister. I must do this. You must be stopped. No! Oh, Luna. Sister, please forgive me. Why did it have to end like this? If only I had just been there for you, just like I ought have to. I was remiss, so distracted by my duties. Now I'm alone, I just don't know what to do. You wanna see the moon rise? Luna, I'm sorry.
Do You Want to See the Moonrise? By Skyrina. There's the link, of course. Moving on. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to play this next one by our good friend BwB. You might have seen this one a little earlier in the week. Titled Damp Rocks, Trixie at the Rock Farm. Ladies and gentlemen, Damp Rocks, Trixie at the Rock Farm by BwB. Before I go, make sure. And finally, folks, well, okay, not finally. This is one that I've been waiting for a very, very, very long time on. And the only reason is just because I am a huge fan of his work. This is Luna's Determination by Melodic Pony. And finally, folks, this one is a bit further out there. This one's one of the longest videos I've probably shown in a long time. This is My Little Dashie, an source filmmaker by Phyrexis. Ladies and gentlemen, My Little Dashie, a source film maker video by Ferexes. All right, folks. One little thing here, and we will move on to the art. All right. Since we have several people here, let's get this started, shall we? Why don't... I think I'll start with Toxic Mario, because I think he said he was taking care of something, and I want to get him. So let me bring him up.
Oh my god, it's me.
Alright, Tox, since as per your request, you wished for us to start with Here I Come, correct?
Oh yes. Oh yes, definitely.
So what can you tell us about this?
Well, let's see. It's a DBZ Fluttershy. It's a
Yes.
remake of the DBZ Fluttershy that I did last year. I don't know. I actually definitely like how this one was actually not as much of a challenge as the other ones. The thing that made this one the hardest thing to do with this was trying to make the angle of how she's supposed to be on the rock, the rock platform or plateau, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But actually, it's not even popping up in your chat right now. Oh, there it is. No, but this picture, I really like how it came out. I was really I was really happy by it because the lighting and everything else came out really nice with it. And actually, I have a print version of that.
Nice.
Sitting right next to it. And actually, I thought it was going to be printing out a lot darker than it came out. No, it comes out just as good as it does on the screen.
Excellent.
But no, this pose, I really didn't really want to go overly crazy with Fluttershy. It's more just something that this one I really just didn't have any direction with this pose. I just was starting to work on the head, and I was like, you know what if I were to have her on a platform, but on an angle on a platform? I never done something like that before. And obviously, I have a bunch of floating rocks in there. I keep somehow adding more debris in these things.
Do you think that could overdo it at some point?
No, because what I like about these is those rocks actually help create distance in another layer.
Sure.
So the thing is, all the rocks are there. If I overlay a few of them over the aura and I really darken the foreground ones, so those floaty ones, the floating ones, it actually pushes the whole painting back.
Nice.
Yeah. Although some of them I have to tone it down a little bit.
I'll reword what I said from, what was it I said in my comment? Something about Flutter Hulk or something?
Yes. Although now your stream video died out.
It's fine on my end. Maybe just a hiccup or something.
Trying to refresh it. Oh, there it is. Now it's back.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, so yeah.
Shall we move on to S'more Fire?
Oh, yes, indeed. I freaking love this comic.
Oop, smoof. Let me... Forgot to paste it. There we go. Now, S'more Fire. Do you want to read it, or should I?
Well, let's see. It's just Derpy talking, so I could. She's my character, so I got to do it.
Can I do the 20 minutes later bit though?
Sure, if you want, go ahead. Knock yourself
Yay!
out. All right. Let's get. Let me just quickly get the thing up on my end. Hang on. Oh, there we go.
Duck.
I love my Firefox. It's so good. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm ready to go. All right, so whenever you're ready,
I'll tell
just
you
give me
where I
the
am.
cues too. If you get when you get down to that panel.
Well, when I get to 20 minutes later, that's your cue to.
Oh,
that'll be
okay.
about your cue.
Okay.
By the way, that was an easy muffin.
Sue me.
Twenty minutes later.
Oh, this thing.
This is taking forever.
It's actually not bad. Wah, wah, wah.
Yep, campfires. I always am finding new ways and different ways to kind of screw around with Spitfire. It's actually an old series. I don't know why I like that series so much, but it's an old series that's something that I just enjoy making that series.
That's your business.
It is. I like it. I mean, it's kind of funny because I get some people saying it's you're using the same blah blah blah, but I'm like, I don't draw her or this series enough as much as I used to. The only actually, and the funny thing that I get complaints about at times is, and I think a lot of people in the chat would know this, is they see a lot of. I mean, I'm probably gonna say 90% of the artists in this fandom draw Spitfire with, the flowy hair that she has, like the non-main, like mohawk type hair that she has in the show. Mm-hmm. A lot of people draw that flowy hair. And so I got a lot of comments a long time ago when I actually drew Spitfire from the front like that numerous times that I can't really say the type of comments that I got on her, but it was just one of these things where it's like, come on, man, really? It's how they do in the show.
Exactly.
I stick to the show style, and it's Phillies, so Phillies is my thing.
Nothing wrong with the wavy hair or the show-accurate hair.
Nah, I mean, it's kind of funny because this comic was supposed to be done before season 4, but I had a completely different idea for this one. And then I threw it away. I didn't even care about the comic at all. And then I brought it back after the finale of season 4. I said, I got to do this comic at some point. And then about 2 weeks ago, I completely reshredded the whole thing for the 5th time. And I went with this style, and I'm actually pretty happy by it. This is actually one of my better pony-drawn comics in the last couple weeks or so. I'm very pleased by it because everything came out perfect, and I'm starting to get really nailing down these night scenes.
Nice.
And I don't know if it's because I'm working on my Weird Luna stuff or just what it is, because my night scenes always seem to turn out pretty nice.
Well, any last words?
Nope, because I won't be on next week because I'll be at BronyCon, but I'll be there the following week, and I should have my DBZ Rarity out during the convention if I can do it. I don't trust the internet at the convention center.
Well, yeah.
So I'm not gonna be on anywhere next week, so we'll just hold that Rarity off.
Sounds like a winner.
The comic the following week. All right, but that's it. That's all I got on these two.
Till then, take care, Tox.
Yep. All right. Later, I'm gonna hang around the chat some more.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toxic Mario. Now, next caller on our list, someone who has been here. Let's see. I'm trying to bring him up. You get out of here. I have him. It's just there. We go. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, hi.
Howdy, Citra.
Howdy, howdy.
So I am showing shadows, and there's a bit of an echo on your end.
Let me get some headphones.
I think you have the stream going.
I do have the screen going, but I did mute it.
Oh, okay.
Let me just get some headphones so it's not playing over the speaker of what I'm hearing from you. 1 second. There we go.
All right. So what can you tell us about shadows? This one.
Shadows, the Rainbow Dash and a Shadow Bolt costume deal. I don't know. What would you like to know about it?
Well, you certainly did a magnificent job with the lighting. I'll just come right out and say that. I think that's the thing that sticks out the most, especially for a night scene. That was, I've seen pretty bright nights, but yes, you did a really good job sticking to a real formula here. Big, bright, full moon with very distinct shadows and lighting. It's a very good job on your part.
Oh, thank you.
What did what'd you do to create that in this sense?
I picked the method to go black and white first, where I did everything on one layer, get the tones right, the lighting right, shadowing. There's an old work in progress shot in my gallery somewhere where you can see where it was originally in black and white before I go into color. That way it was very easy to have the control of the lighting already set in place before I added colors in. So that's probably why it looks very strong in terms of lighting, like you mentioned.
Well, like I said, it's a very nice job, very, very well done. What about the shattered goggle piece? Any symbolism or anything behind that?
I had the idea that just putting her goggles on her head or just over her eyes, it felt kind of boring. So I was like, hey, let's crack the goggles, make it where we can see her eye. But not only that, crack the goggles at an angle so it gives a natural eyebrow look where she's all angry and staring back.
Nice. I think it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to say about this piece?
I said this is one of my older pieces. I was just sitting around on my computer for many, many months. This was completed way back in 2013.
Wow. You feel old?
No, not quite. But it was in my computer hard drive for a long time because it was taking forever for Hasbro to approve it for Wheel of Fine. I was planning to make that as a print for Wheel of Fine. Nice. The part of it was my fault. I did not realize that I submitted the black and white version, and the whole time they were waiting for the color version, and I did not realize that. So probably about 4 months delay because of my own mistake. And then after that, it took probably about a month and a half to finally get approved and uploaded. And I can't wait to see in person how it will look. I'm very curious how it will look on Wheel of Fine's heavy-duty paper print. I have been selling this as its own little print myself at conventions for about 4 or 5 conventions, so people has been seeing it before I upload it online. And there's a tiny little hidden gem inside the image. If you zoom in to the top of Rainbow Dash's wing, you'll see Nightmare Moon.
I see her. Right behind the other the Shadow Bolt's head here, folks. Hard to see, but when I throw you the link, I'll do it right now, as a matter of fact. Check it out. Hey, if this is anything like some of those shirts I've seen at conventions, this is going to look awesome on a shirt, Citra. There was one of yours, high flying or soaring high, or that one with that interesting angle on Rainbow Dash when she's about ready to dive. I saw that on a shirt, and it looked magnificent when I was at NLP MSP. So if that is any indicator of what if that's any indicator, I think this picture, Shadows, is going to look fantastic on a shirt.
Well, unfortunately, the design of the illustration being more horizontal than vertical, it wouldn't quite work, and it will take probably another month and a half to get it onto a shirt. By then, probably be old news. But it is as a print, available as an 18 by 24 or a 24 by 36, and the resolution I have submitted to Wheel of Fine is in 5,000 by 5,000K resolution on diagonal. So it's quite high resolution, and that's quite also why I only uploaded it in 900 pixels, because I had issues before with someone taking my files and making prints off on eBay. So that's unfortunate. I'm
Definitely.
hoping I'm hoping down the road, maybe maybe several months, I will upload a wallpaper size version so
Nice.
people can have it for their desktops without it being all blurry.
Any last things you want to say about this, or anything for that matter?
I guess last things I can say that unfortunately this is not going to be at BronyCon.
Dang.
To anyone, I did not make my purchase order in time, so I'm going to go to BronyCon without any Wheel of Fine prints or shirts. So that's unfortunate.
Stuff
But I
happens.
will have my normal prints available, and I'll be doing commissions there. And final thing I'd like to say, this is not the only illustration I just have sitting around on my computer hard drive. I have 5 other completed works I've just never got around uploading. I don't know why I do that.
Be happy to show them if you release them.
Yep. I have one of Rainbow Dash just blowing bubble gum like a jock on the cloud. I have one Pinkie Pie going super fast, that comic episode. And I got several others. But I just don't really upload immediately when I'm done with the drawing, so that's unfortunate. I guess that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Citra.
All right, I'm going to continue watching and later try to catch up on my artwork I need to get done for BronyCon. So I'll see you around.
Take care.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, Citra 360's Shadows. All right. And I see Colt in the audience, so we are going to touch on this. Prepare for terrible voice acting. For those of you who might not understand the part 2, it's been a long time. What happened was Spike accidentally sent off a love letter to Princess Celestia. It was intended for Rarity. So this is a continuation of it. Colt, as of course, like always, feel free to throw your opinions in on the your opinion, your stuff about it, anything about the comic as I'm reading it. Let me think. Spike, you are in big trouble, mister. Princess Luna? What are you doing here? You sent a letter to Princess Celestia, didn't you? Yes, but it was just an accident. You don't understand. My sister turns into a whole different pony when it comes to love and rejection. Equestria is going to be a mess for the first 4 months. And then here comes my favorite panel. Do something about it! 10 minutes later. Hey, Big Mac, do I have a surprise for you? Forgive the voice. They sit right around the break point, and they're quite roughly similar. Colt, I want to see where this goes. I really, really do. Yeah, I know. So, of course, anything to say about it, Colt? No, I will never get tired of this shot. Just kind of waiting to see if he's there or not, folks. And yeah, I intentionally skipped back on the art, but we're still going to be going way over. Okay, I'm going to move on, and that's because I don't know if he's here or not. Anyway, this next one is by a new person, Junkyard Gypsy. I was going to show this one about the during the Ted Anderson interview, but or at least that was the original plan, but I decided to skip it because the order of the episodes got switched the way they did. Anyway, Junkyard Gypsies, Philly Twilight, and Shining Armor. Yeah, you can kind of tell why I wanted to show this one. Uber cute, very good detail, just a cute scene. Nothing wrong with that. Why are you so darn cute, Twilight? Why? It's like there's a certain I think what makes it so darn cute are those big eyes, that pouting lip, and the fact that she's holding something. Darn it. Fight, 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 fight. Yeah, I'm watching the chat here. I have special eyes. And now I'm going to um that parody. Anyway, let us move on. Okay, this next one, kind of a late entry in the game, but I got it last night. This is titled "Somewhere in the West" by uh, Vom Baver. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, you can kind of see why I wanted this one in the show, folks. This looks like a photograph. Like this was literally taken somewhere in the Arizona desert. That's impressive. That is really impressive. Take a look at the tire details. That's kind of where it sold me on that. As, as in, it looks so good. Yeah, this is drawn. I'm not kidding. Just let the comments flow in. Citra. Yeah, that's a good point. Check out what Tim said. Check the shadow on the fuel tank. That's a good eye for detail. Somewhere in the West by Von Bover. All right. This next one is titled The Greatest Nightmare by Dusty Sculptures. I saw this one just shortly before the Ted Anderson interview, but I wanted to show this one because, well, just look at it, folks. Let's see, what was it I was going to say? Nope, nothing in the quotes. But this stood out to me because I do follow my fair share of sculpture art, both artists and groups on DeviantArt here. But this one stuck out to me due to the very high level of detail to it. Not to sound mean here, but yes, this really does feel like it's in a tier all its own. Dusty Sculptures did a great job with the flowing hair. Hold on. The color, the painting, all of it. He did a really good job with it. Yeah, Thunderbolt, now that you mention it, I hope this gets 3D printed. So do I. All right, 2 more pieces left. Well, yeah, 2 more. This one is from The Friendly Elephant, titled Apple Stack. You can kind of see why I wanted to put this one on. Let's see here. Quote, while drawing this, I noticed the Apple siblings actually create the first 3 colors of the rainbow when stacked together like this. Red, orange, and yellow. Or, quite literally, they put the Roy in Roy G. Biv. And Granny Smith puts the G in said abbreviation. Once again, the Friendly Elephant shows us his magnificent, what's the word I'm looking for? Traditional. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry. His amazing traditional work here. It's very, all he uses are just colored pencils, and I think he line arts it. I can't remember if he said yes or no to that. I know he'll tell me, and I know he will. But anyway, as I've said, the best thing about it is it's hard to make out the white space, and he does a magnificent job with the shadows and lighting on it too. That's something I haven't seen out of colored pencil artists, at least none of them that I'm familiar with, in a long time. Not necessarily on DeviantArt in so much as just personal experience. But yes, again, there's a reason I put his work on the show here. He does a very great job with the lighting and shadows using colored pencils. That's pretty darn good. J. Smith and Ben. Just had to go there, didn't you, Tim? Anyway, the Friendly Elephants Apple Stack. And to wrap it all up, and I wish he was here, darn it. Oh well. This is Muffinshire's Twilight's First Day, number 19. I'm guessing he's busy or something. Doesn't matter. Now, obviously, he's the one usually doing Gisela, so I'm going to have to wing it when it comes to not only the pitch, but the accent as well. So, Muffinshire, if and... Oh, fantastic. Now I got to edit this one together. Anyway, in case I did not say it or you guys didn't hear it or it wasn't recorded, Muffinshire, as I said, if I now have to imitate Gisela's voice and accent. So if I do a terrible job, forgive me, man. But enough stalling. We need to get to the discussion. So let's do this. I'm picturing it. And last of all, your copy of Spellcasting Theory and Practice Volume 1. Scribbling. By the way, you can't hide this from me, Muffinshire. Check out the little ring here, folks. Does it look familiar if you tune it? Do 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 do. Funny, but good touch. Ah, perfect timing. Now hurry along to your first class, students, and welcome to Princess Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns. Miss Gisela, do I have to carry around these books all day? If you had been here at the start, Miss Sparkle. Yeah, I know. My own accent just really... Ugh. Whoosh. Flomp. You would already have your locker key. By the way, check the number on it. We'll get back to that later. What? I'm just getting the Looney Tunes flashback here. Honestly, you're going to have to learn to be more organized. Huh. Well, that happened. No, it's on my end, folks. So for you, everyone complaining about the stream, no, it's on my end. And of course, it has to be during Muffinshire's comic. Anyway, honestly, you're going to have to learn to be more organized if you want to succeed at this skill. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Come on! Open, you stupid! You're going to have to learn to be more organized. Organized. Bzz, bzz. Plump. A lot more organized. Well, I hope this all got through, and if anything, well, I at least showed it, Muffinshire. Does that count for anything? Anyway, Twilight's First Day, number 19, by Muffinshire. One other thing, folks. The little comic with Shining Armor and Twilight. He also made a comic. He put that in comic form, in a stacked comic form. So if you want to just read that bit, there you go. I'm not going to show it. You already saw it. But without the think clouds, without all that fun jazz, you can see it. Anyway, that concludes our art and news, folks. So we're getting into the discussion now. And I kind of want to set the scene for you guys a little bit here before we go on. I spent probably about, I want to say 6 hours preparing for this. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but let me put this in perspective. For episodes like episode discussions where we have very little to talk about, like episodes like the Cutie Pox and Owl's Well That Ends Well, where there isn't much to it, I probably only spend about 45 minutes preparing for it in terms of just notes concerning the episode. Episodes like Lesson Zero, and when we get to it, the wedding, where there's a lot to talk about and it's very heavy, I probably spend about maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe a little more on them. And then obviously episodes like this one and Ne'er-do-well, that's the episode. Yeah, spent about 5-6 hours preparing for it. So I probably missed something. I'm probably going to miss something. But to say I did not try and prepare for this episode almost broke me is what I'm getting at, folks. Go. I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't know it was going to be that big. Anyway, enough of my anecdotes. I actually want to just talk about the scene itself. And I mean just the original scene. Before we get into the debacle and all that fun jazz, I just want to talk about the scene. And I need to put this up here. And I mean the scene as in, the actual scene with Derpy. What do you guys have to say about that scene since we skipped over it last week? The best way of describing, on and off topic, I'll say it. If you want a good example of my singing, just go watch a YouTube poop with ear rape in it. And there you go. My recommendations, Omaba's New World Acid Trip and Elsa Lets Her Sanity Go. Accidental property damage. I'll get back to that a little bit later, Matt the Shadow Man. Console. It aired January 21st, 2012. Yeah, I don't think I'll be forgetting that date anytime soon. Speaking of January 21st, 2012, you guys want a reenactment of what I thought of the scene? It was something like this. Yes! I just remember doing this the whole time. I didn't even watch the chat scroll by. And it's funny because I was in the Pinkie Pie room that day. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there was that chat reaction to the Derpy scene. Someone, I can't remember who, had, of course, that chat reaction. And he was in the Pinkie Pie room covering it at the time. And I could have put something in there. I could have had my name in there. Oh well. Point is that's all I was doing for this whole thing was I was just so excited about that scene. For those of you kind of saying I wasn't into Derpy at the time, or didn't see it live or something like that, that's fine. But for me at that time, I knew about Derpy. I knew all about her. Not all of it I agreed with, mind you, from the fanon standpoint, but I knew who she was. I knew everything about her. I liked her. I liked her in the sense of cute Easter egg. Yeah, her ass is iron. And to me, it was a pretty big deal. I enjoyed watching it because I've never seen that before. I've never seen a fan-made character, well, okay, not necessarily a fan-made character, I should say, a character who the fans promoted would be a better phrase. A character whom, I should say, the fans promoted, who then was put in the show like this, who got a speaking role and a name. I've never seen this before, but at the time. But I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. Maybe because the fans did something and it wasn't wholly, I'll say wholly in a weird sense anyway. Because it was in tune with the show. That's probably the shortest, best answer. Anyway, that she was, where was I? I'm losing my train of thought. Something that the fans have done, and it was put in the show. I know that's not the most uncommon thing, but for it to reach that level, where they're actually giving her a voice and stuff, I think that's pretty cool. And I do think that's one of those, it sets our fandom apart from others. And I know that that's not very much that's becoming less and less a specialty nowadays. At least I think so, to some degree anyway. But at the time, and still to this day, I still think that was a pretty cool move on anyone. Hasbro or, well, it would be Hasbro's ultimate choice. On Hasbro's choice. And yeah, we'll get to the edited piece too. In that respect, Mr. Ben, I think context is the important factor here. Yeah, I know what you I know where you're coming from, but it falls. That's like saying. Okay, I can think of a safe one. Yeah, try to. That's like saying there's a chink in one's armor. While of course the word chink means both a weakness and a racial slur, the context of it is it's the former, the first one. And yeah, obviously you said earlier we could have replaced it with a with like Ditzy or even a totally different name. The problem with any other name is of course well, the biggest problem is of course while we could have they could have gone that route, problem is of course then what? You'd certainly have fanfics and fan ideas being destroyed, which I have no problem with that. But if you want to make it a fan shout out and calling her a different name, that kind of feels half-assed if you ask me. And of course, if they would have gone with Ditzy Do, that again, that's still going to categorize it. The only difference between the two, between neither Derpy nor Ditzy Do and some other fan name, is the fact that Ditzy Do, while already established, as if that doesn't divide people enough. Most people I know say Derpy, but there is a small faction who proclaim it's Ditzy Do forever. Anyway, I'm going off track. Good water. I'm reading. I'm watching. I know, Tox. I know. But I think I want to stick to this for now. At least for now, anyway. Because what I have to show is going to be interesting. That reminds me, I've been kind of thinking about doing that again one of these days. Well, you know what? I always like to put it to the fans. You want me to talk with Tox on Skype, folks? Or should I stick to what we're doing here? Doesn't mean I can't. Just because I might not have a beer doesn't mean I don't have something to stroke. Dinner, 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 dinner. So far, what I'm seeing is. So far, I've got excluding toxes. No. Yes. I'm not sure what Citra's vote is. So I'm going to ask once more. Yes, I bring Tox on. No, I keep him off. Please just answer me that one, folks. Please. I'm going to reset the vote. So it's 0-0. Yes. No. 2. Yes. All right. I'm sitting at a tie, and I'm going to say I'm sitting at a tie, and I'm going to keep it no for now. So, anyway, let's get into this discussion, folks. Let's dig in a little bit more. So we've already discussed the scene itself, or at least as far as anyone goes, at least the most important points. So, all right, let's dig into the meat of this meat. Let's talk about the whole controversy and Derpy Gate and everything else associated with this. And this is where the majority of my research went for, folks. So, the controversy. Let's start talking about that. Most of this is gonna be just me monologuing. So before I do that, I want your guys' input on this. Everything you have to say about the Derpy Gate scandal, go for it. I'll probably just throw comments in and just my thoughts and whatnots before I start. I'll give you guys plenty of warning before that. Rain Shadow. I wouldn't say no one, Rain Shadow, and the only reason because not all of us threw a big hissy fit. Take care, Tox. Hope you stop on back. And I know most of you are probably already touched on it above. I was hoping you wouldn't, but anyway. I'll get to that, Matt. Don't worry. Correct, Citra. This is. Citra. What about Christian Bale's J.E. Smith? Take care, Citra. All right, I think we're starting to derail here, so that's my cue. All right, yes, I'm going to be monologuing here, folks, and I'm probably going to be ignoring most of the chat for what it's worth. I'll try and keep my eyes on you guys, but bear with me. So, of course, I started back at pretty much January 21st, 2012, looking through various archives, EQD, Derpy Who's News, Google searches, videos. You name it, I probably touched it. And trying to organize a lot of this. Some of the things that I found that was perhaps the most damning piece of evidence to everyone's statement here comes from one source. But I'll get to that later. As everyone knows, shortly after it, of course, the biggest clue that was hell breaking loose was the iTunes takedown. On, when was it? It first disappeared January 30th, 2012. There's an article here that I'm going to bring up a lot of my sources here. Back on January 30th, of course, the Last Roundup's mysterious disappearance. Some of this might be a bit dated, so things like stay tuned or that kind of junk. But January 30th, 2012, so this would have been 1 week, 2 days after TLR's airing, the episode was taken off of iTunes. Normally they come out on Mondays. So this would have been the 24th, it would have been up. And we do know that it was unedited. There are two reasons. A lot of people said that it was unedited. The January 24th, the original, the first pass on iTunes was the original. And of course, even if you don't believe me on that, the anecdotes, you can claim, why would they release an alternate version, which was, by the way, released February 24th when it finally was re-released. Quote, earlier a post went up pointing out that the Last Roundup was released on iTunes finally. Sadly, it looks like she was actually modified. Her voice is different and Rainbow Dash no longer names her. End quote. Why would they release the edited version first and drop it and then re-release it? Especially when all of these articles like this are bringing it up. So, again, if you don't believe the anecdotes that I said, let that little deduction in logic be my proof. So we do know that, as I said, iTunes brought that up. And I'll be coming back to iTunes here shortly. But there's, of course, another piece of evidence I want to bring up. That's, of course, perhaps what everyone knows is Amy Keating Rogers' letter to it. And the only piece I want to name from said letter is, where is it? What was it I was looking for? Oh, yes. The only piece that I want to bring to light is where she says, quote, she's referring to emails she got from both fans and haters. But I got about 10 emails saying how offended folks were. People labeled me as an ableist and said that I was being insensitive to the disabled by calling this character, quote-unquote, Derpy. I then did a search of what Derpy meant, and the first thing that came up were embarrassing and awkward, which is what I thought originally about said just word derp and derpy. Then when I did a more in-depth search, I discovered that one definition is, quote-unquote, retarded, end quote. So we do know that Amy has received negative letters from people. Now, let's go on for a minute. Quote, but I was also not the only one getting contacted regarding Derpy's portrayal. Positive and negative feedback was also being sent to Hasbro and the Hub. End quote. There is one thing I'll bring up. Quote again, I'm sorry, I should have just kept going. Someone at the Hub who knows about my personal connection with disabilities contacted me asking my opinion. We talked about various options of what to do regarding the scene. 1. Do nothing. 2. Cut Rainbow saying Derpy but keep her voice. 3. Cut Rainbow saying Derpy and change Derpy's voice. 4. Find a creative way to change Derpy's name in a future episode. End quote. Obviously, the ultimate end is they picked number 3. So we do know that information was being sent off to both Amy and Hasbro. Hasbro being the more important one of our focus here. I'm going to bet that assuming that ratio holds, 200 positive, she later says it, or she earlier said it. No, get out of here, you. In the previous paragraph from the one I started, quote, I got about 200 positive ones. I knew that the majority of fans were not offended. I got emails from fans with siblings with disabilities and parents of kids with disabilities and fans who had disabilities themselves, and none of them were offended. At first, I tried to answer all these emails, but then it just became too overwhelming. Still, I want to thank you all for your support. End quote. Let's pretend that that ratio holds, folks. 200 to 10. To put this in perspective, If we take a total of it, 210 letters, 10 over 210, folks, is only about 5%. So only about 5%, again, let's pretend that ratio holds for the entirety, the population. Only about 5% of the people disliked Derpy. Not a very big number. And in fact, I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here and say that it's, first of all, yeah, it's vocal minority syndrome. And second, I'm going to bet good money that she's probably received worse when it comes to, she's received far worse, or anyone for that matter, any one of the writers or Hasbro might have received worse for, I don't know, because the character wasn't portrayed according to so-and-so's fanfic, or they characterized XYZ wrong because it's supposed to be their definition, or or it's just a crappy episode, etc. You get the point. So we do know that, yes, a very small, but certainly enough people, or at least one letter, I should say, there exists at least one letter such that Hasbro received it that received negative feedback about Derpy's scene itself. Now, the biggest piece of damning evidence that I want to share to everyone came about a year later. Around September 13th, September 2013, there was a convention in Cincinnati Comic Con, where Katie Cook, Tony Fleece, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Andy Price did a panel. And someone asked them about the Derpy fiasco. Remember, this was only about a year and a half later, so probably still fresh in everyone's mind. I'm going to play the video, and I just want you guys to listen.
Doctor Who all the way in the back there.
What was your opinion on the whole Derpy Hoops fiasco?
There's two Doctor. Yeah, it's all right though. No, don't worry. There's a lot of ties. Which fiasco, sir?
The whole Derpy Hoops fiasco after the last roundup.
Ridiculous.
All right.
Ridiculous.
I'm going to tell you the true story behind it because there are so many rumors about soccer moms and all this. And
can I get a clarification?
Yeah, me too.
For the
Okay.
second podcast.
If you guys know of the character of Derpy Hoops, who is also sometimes called Ditsy Doo, Derpy is a cockeyed, boss-eyed character that was an animation accident. That's how she started. If you watch the show carefully, there's a lot of animation accidents, but she was one that stood out because she had the wonky eye. And somebody went, "Hey, look at that goofy pony."
I like her.
And so they repeated her. And then in an episode, she actually had a couple of lines. And she talks like this. "You okay, Rainbow Dash?"
She talks like the vulture in the Bunny cartoon.
She's very clumsy and everything. And Rainbow calls her by name, Derpy. And then when the episode went to iTunes said, "We find this offensive. And we're worried that somebody else is going to find it offensive, so edit it before somebody complains." There were no true complaints. No soccer mom came out and said, "I don't like this," which is the popular contention. It was iTunes that said, cut it before somebody complains. So when the show was put on iTunes, it was edited, her name was taken out, and her voice was changed. So instead of, "You okay, Rainbow Dash?" now it's, "Are you okay, Rainbow Dash?"
Excuse me, Rainbow Dash. Hello. I wonder if you're safe or not.
So,
Excuse me, good sir. I am wondering if you doth hurt your posterior as you fall through that floor.
I have a PhD, even though I am a pony.
Even though I'm a cockeyed.
Exactly. It hasn't stopped me from my arthritis.
but on all merchandise of the character, her name is not on it.
Uh-huh.
She's portrayed by a muffin. Always.
There's a new box set of toys coming out this fall with Derpy in it. And on the back is everybody's name except hers. And there's a picture of a muffin. So,
It's a big controversy.
I like that, man.
but Derpy has continued in the show, and fans made such a big deal out of this. And she was not on the show for a little while, and they thought, oh God, now they've done her away. And if you pay attention to the season 3 finale when Twilight gets her wings, Derpy is in almost every other scene. She's constant through the episode to say, hey, she's still here. We can't say her name, but she's still here.
Crazy.
So,
All right, other Doctor Who.
So clearly there are conflicting points of view here, folks. By the way, there's the link if you want to look at it. I started it at 39 minutes, 27 seconds. So if you, if you truly don't believe me or, want to watch the whole thing, there you go. But if you want to just skip right to it, 39 minutes, 27 seconds. So yeah, clearly there might be some conflicting pieces of evidence here. Andy Price is saying, there are no true complaints. It was not soccer moms or some rabid minority. It was iTunes saying this. So, truly, of course, I don't think Mr. Price was saying there were no true complaints, meaning there were literally no true complaints. Not only do I have evidence saying to the contrary, but I don't take him as that stupid. So, I'm reading Matt's line here. I heard through some other vines, it was somewhere. It was either on this video in the comments or someone else said that iTunes does hold a really strict, when it comes to content producing, they're very strict when it comes to what is and what isn't produced. But obviously that's anecdotal, but work with me here for a minute. What I will say that is that, in terms of stories that you want to go with, of course, is there are two things that need be that what are my damn notes? Okay. We do know that both Amy and Hasbro received, let's see. What we don't know 100% is iTunes' end of it. Did they receive a greater percentage of negative comments, greater than that 5%, say 7, 10? Or did someone inside iTunes or within Apple, someone, whether it be an individual or a group of individuals, did they say, holy shit, that's offensive, and rushed to I don't know, guys at the top anyway, and they said, hey, check this scene out, the Derpy scene, and they said, we find this offensive, this might offend people, in which case the higher ups said, they took it down and talked to Hasbro and said, we find this offensive, edit it. In which case, this is what we get. And I'm going to guess two things here, folks. Either, Hasbro said, fine, here's your edited version, and because just one. I'm going to guess one thing. They gave him the edited version and figured, maybe it is offensive. Maybe we should just release it, and then reruns are edited, and the season 2 DVD set is edited. The and other means of distribution of said episode, the Last Roundup, are edited. Obviously, of course, the only piece that we do know for sure that isn't edited is the Friendship Express DVD by Shout Factory. There's a reason I have it, folks, and that's it. It's for that scene to be unaltered. And you know what? I'm glad I picked it up. It could be even something we don't know about in terms, but I'm going to state that obviously, of course, what Andy Price said. We do know that iTunes originally released an unedited version, took it down, then put it up. And yeah, J.E. Smith, that bit. So, obviously, of course, I'll say I don't know. Is it wholly Hasbro's doing? I don't think so. I think Mr. Price is in enough of the loop to know or to get that kind of information. Do I suspect Mr. Price is jerking us around or something? No. Why would he? And here's another thing to consider, folks. Let's go back to that 5% ratio. I'm going to bet good money that even if that's on the high end of complainers, let's pretend that for a minute, that's still a really small number. 5% of anything is not a very big number. Kind of reiterating what I just said about that. So if that's the case, then, would Hasbro really react to that? I don't think they did. I mean, if iTunes was ultimately the one to blame or say, hey, this is offensive, if it was iTunes, I think that would be, probably more of a something in Hasbro's interest to keep happy because of the fact that they pay bills for Hasbro. I don't know. Ultimately, I honestly don't know unless I were to talk to the right people. And I'm going to be honest with you. At this point, I don't think I will. I have no desire to, nor real... I don't have the desire to because it's a 2-year-old issue now. Let's just let this grave stay closed after we're done opening it. But that's definitely something to think about. Everyone, of course, thinks it's petitions and soccer moms and angry fans that, they're a vocal but a minority, but a very vocal one. That's what I was looking for. And here's Mr. Price coming on saying that it was iTunes. Interesting. So yeah, I told you that I would be getting to that stuff, Mr. Ben and everyone else. And I hope that opens your eyes there. I'll say that much. All right. Now I've discussed, and I'll read your comment here shortly, Matt the Shadow Man. We've already discussed, I did my monologue. So what do you guys have to say about Derpy being altered, qua the scene being altered? I don't know if we hit that or not. Exactly, Matt the Shadow Man. Exactly. Do you please your fans who maybe bring in a small share of your profit? Or do you please iTunes, who brings in a bigger share of your profit? One thing I will say after I get done with this bit, actually I should say this right now. Or no, I'm saving it for the next bit. I'm sorry. I wouldn't put it past the Thunderbolts. I certainly wouldn't. Probably for, like I said, the same reasons, Rain Shadow. If iTunes finds it offensive, chances are others find it offensive. And, well, I'll say that for a second here. Mr. Ben. Yeah, if I can give a promo here, go Comixology, folks. You won't be disappointed. Yeah, funny how that works out, isn't it? Twilight is magic. I'll answer that question actually pretty much right now, Matt the Shadow Man. Okay, I'm gonna go on my little triage again here, and for the record, I'm gonna be putting my social justice warrior hat on here, folks. So yeah, and because of that, I know I'm gonna be stepping on toes here. To answer everyone's questions, like Matt the Shadow Man's there, what do I feel about the scene being altered? First of all, I've always loved the original scene. I didn't think it needed any changing whatsoever. And yes, I refuse to watch any episode of the Last Roundup such that it has been edited. I refuse to watch the edited version. There's a reason I showed it yesterday, or 2 weeks ago, folks, unedited. Anyway, and I'm going to propose a question for everyone, or perhaps not a question, a statement, I'm sorry. I find Derpy being altered far more offensive than I do finding her unaltered. And here's why. Does our world not have disabled people in it, whether they have an amputation, they're paraplegic, they have trisomy 21, or what have you? Do we not have disabled people in our world? We do. We do. And yet, a lot of people, especially those who don't have disabilities, or at least some of them anyway, would probably say something akin to, everyone is to treat them just like us. Now, I'm not going to ignore the fact that some disabled people need special accommodations, e.g., do I expect a guy in a wheelchair who's paraplegic to walk up a set of stairs? Of course not. Or do I expect a blind man to be able to read a book, a non-braille book? Again, no. And outside of those folks, they're trying to live a normal life just like us. They play stuff like us, like video games, or they read, or what have you. They entertain themselves. They work just like us. They think just like us. So outside of those special accommodations, I think it's a fairly fair deduction to say that they're just like us. So if that's the case, then we get people saying that Derpy is offensive. She has a disability. More specifically, what is it? I can't remember. I know it's strabismus, but I'm trying to remember the technical term. Hypertropic strabismus, that's it. That is one of her eyes, the eye that focuses, the other eye crosses up over it. It goes higher. Hypertropic strabismus we will count for the sake of argument as a disability. It does need to be, it can be surgically corrected. So if that's the case, here's, using the unaltered scene, here's Derpy playing with Rainbow Dash. In the original uncut version, Amy revealed that they were buck bolting, which is shooting all the lightning bolts out of a cloud. So she's working. Hold that thought, Rain Shadow. I'll get back to it. Because, trust me, that's part of the social justice warrior thing going on here. So she's working with Rainbow Dash. They're bucking the bolts out of the clouds. They are, she's working or playing. I think it was play, but it doesn't matter. She's otherwise just like Rainbow Dash is what I'm trying to say. Yet she's clumsy, uncoordinated, just like others. Because I know clumsy people, and I know people who aren't exactly the brightest, and yet they're otherwise normal. So, we have someone with a disability who also happens to be clumsy and a bit silly working. She's trying to live her life just like any pony else. And yet, you're telling me that is offensive because she's trying to live a normal life. And you need to censor it. Why? Spot on, Matt the Shadow Man. Carrying on here. So we alter her, and while she's still a bit clumsy, she's otherwise a normal pony. She just, she doesn't have a silly voice. She's doesn't have the derp dye. She doesn't have the extratropic strabismus. Do you realize what that's saying, folks? Do you realize that's saying that someone out there thinks that that the disabled people need to be censored or protected from offense, if you even want to call it that, or even better, they need to be protected from reality? They need to be protected from real life? I'm going to ignore for a minute how stupid that is and focus on how hypocritical that is. You mean to tell me that... And you wonder why I hate people, folks. So, where was I? Trying to regain my train of thought. I kind of lost it when I got a bit huffy there. But, you're starting to see my point here. What would Derpy need to be protected from? Reality? And to answer your question, was it Rain Shadow who asked about them being the butt of jokes? Same statement. I hate to use this one, but there was, I don't remember where I read it. It was an article or something. Anyway, Carlos Mencia, a comedian, I don't like him very much, but I like this point that he brings up. What he did, I don't know if he's still on tour or not, doesn't matter. Anyway, what Carlos did from time to time was he would put on a comedic routine for the disabled. Especially, I think it was either strictly the mentally disabled or anyone, didn't matter. Point is for the disabled. And his reasoning behind it was, and he would intentionally make fun of them, just like any other comedian makes fun of married couples or what have you. And his saying is because they want to be treated just like us. What most people don't understand when it comes to life, or at least, let me back up here. An absence of protection, when there's an absence of protection like this, there is always positive and negatives. In the sense of, we'll cheer them on, the disabled, we'll cheer them on saying, be the best that you possibly can. But, guess what? For them to not be made fun of, folks, as harsh as this is going to sound, for them to be made fun of, first of all, implies that they're still being protected. And second, who says? Maybe the person who is disabled doesn't mind the joke. Whether it be Derpy, Carlos, or someone else. Maybe they make fun of themselves because, I don't know, they have iron legs and can break through wood or something. I don't know. I don't care. But equality comes with positives and negatives. And the hat comes off. Now, one other question I want to bring up to everyone, and I'm going to answer this right away for what it's worth. Do I blame Hasbro for its move to, their ultimate decision to say, let's censor this scene? To this day, and I have never said otherwise, no, I don't. I don't blame them one bit. Pretty much, Matt the Shadow Man. But anyway, as I was going, do I blame Hasbro for what they did? No, and I never have. Because sadly, we don't exactly live in a sound world. As everyone's pointing out, and as I did with that social justice warrior hat thing, the short answer is, how would you like to be known as the company that makes fun of the disabled people? Yeah, there you go. The long answer, how would you like to be known as the company that makes fun of disabled people in spite of the contrary evidence? Yeah. No one would, how many people here would say, does Hasbro really make fun of the disabled people? Research. Derpy is fan-promoted character, non-offensive, meant to be funny, and of course using some of the things I just said about disabled people. Sadly, you would get knee-jerk reaction types who would say they make fun of the disabled. And when your biggest customers are probably, at least some of them who would fall susceptible to that, what's the word I'm looking for? Tripe, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, you're going to be out of a business fast by the end of the week. Any last things to say, folks? Because I'm out of notes for what it's worth, and I'm kind of out of things to talk about. In the sense of stuff listed. something I can't believe I never mentioned. In terms of the people sending off letters to Hasbro and Amy, it's a statistical inevitability. That's just something I wish I would have said that earlier, but oh well, I can say it here. Ooh, that's a good question, Matt. I was debating if I should save that for when we get there or not, but I'll answer that because A, it's going to be a long time, and B, I think it pertains to the topic. In terms of Derby being back, first of all, awesome. Unfortunately, since well, I first of all, of course, her not having a voice and being named, but unfortunately, the circumstances force it, and in that respect, it's better than nothing. Spot on, Mr. Ben. Spot on. Certainly was one of the biggest. I'll say this, Matt, concerning your point here. I don't mind them interacting with her like the last roundup did, but yeah, I agree. I don't want her to become part of the cast or anything. I don't remember who said it. This was after this was at some video game convention, and it was concerning. I think it was Bioshock Infinite, or maybe it was just one of the producers on it or something. But he said the best line: "If you send a death threat, you automatically lose the argument." That was the short gist of it, anyway. Yeah, I would go ahead and say that as well. Sadly, of course, as anyone knows, there are only two ways to interact with people: reason and force. The gun is not an argument. Morality ends where the gun begins. Yeah. I wouldn't say so, Matt the Shadow Man. Bear in mind that season 2 was pretty much, the last roundup was all of season 2 was done by the time the last roundup aired, and by then not much retconning could have been, or retconning, retroaction could have been done. But I'd still say no, and that's partially because their background characters, they don't get much to begin with, and second, they're background characters, so their job is to stay in the background and make it look populated. That's all. Pretty much Thunderbolt. Can't tell if we're just used to it by now, Twilight is Magic, or that one was just not as big a reason to or big a point of it. Either way, I neither know nor care. I wouldn't put it past that, Mr. Ben. Something else I wanted to add to what I was saying to Thunderbolt there. Just because background characters are background characters doesn't mean they won't talk, and more importantly, of course, since they don't have a disability, they can be portrayed perfectly, or, normally, or, whatever. So you could, have Vinyl talking and, have her sound normal. And who would get offended by that? DJs? One of them, anyway. I don't know if it was specifically 100 or not, Alicorn, Texas boy, but I'll check in on that. We'll see when we get there, of course. All right, I think we're starting to we're kind of starting to diverge in conversations here. So why don't we wrap this up, folks? Next week is an interview. Someone who's been here a long time. But only now do I finally get around to interviewing him because he's finally given us enough material to work with. That sounded wrong. I'm sorry. Anyway, next week we are interviewing Muffinshire. So stop on by with all your questions because it's sure to be a fun one, folks. I know he has a lot to say, and I know it's going to be a fun one if our little interactions reading his comic or anything. So, next week, Muffinshire interview. Stop on by. Till then, for all of us here at Babble with Bronies, I want to thank everyone for stopping on by. On behalf of myself, Everlasting Joy, Mr. Ben, and Twilight is Magic, we want to thank everyone for stopping by. Stay tuned, and until then, take care.